Hello, and welcome today to Not Just Ads, the creator economy for B2B. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by John Coombs. John is the founder and CEO of Rover. Rover is a fan-based platform which helps teams build better concierge service with their fans and their future fans as well. They work with over 60 clubs across North America, and they're growing very fast and expanding. It's a really exciting space to be in, and I'm really looking forward to getting into the conversation with John today. Thanks for joining us on the show, John. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Great to be here, Marcus. Thank you.
What's the value proposition for the clubs that when they work with you to have build that kind of better relationship with their fan base? Where did the idea of Rover come around, and what's that value add that you bring to the clubs with the product that you have?
Yeah, for sure. So if you look at sport, it's a pretty unique market. Unlike retail and other categories, you've got multiple drivers of revenue in terms of sponsorships and broadcast and ticket sales and venue operations, and the list goes on. There's many ways in which a team really can monetize in the space. And so that provides a lot of challenges in that you've got a lot of fragmentation in the ecosystem from a technology perspective. Ticketing providers, for example, you've got your food and beverage and venue, and the list goes on. Lots of components to the tech stack, so to speak. And so what we really do is focus on this category and solve the unique problems and opportunities that center around these various sort of avenues of revenue and help to connect the dots between systems that are traditionally quite fragmented. Teams, while they are well equipped in terms of on-field performance and the staffing that goes in there, they often operate rather lean on the marketing side, and they can stand to benefit from products that are built for them, so to speak, that stitch together the various component parts of their business from a technology perspective and help them execute on what they're ultimately trying to drive, which is better fan experiences, which ultimately lead to ticket sales, membership, season ticket membership purchases, and an ongoing great fan experience, which is really the area of revenue driving that we focus to help accelerate.
Sure. How does it work normally?
Yeah, it's more the former. It's really about providing, in a sort of SaaS sense of the word, a platform for clubs to execute on a lot of the use cases they certainly want to execute on. Traditionally, it's a rather clunky workflow. For example, this is wanting to message or engage all season ticket members, wanting to onboard a new season ticket member to a new season ticket member journey flow. We're really, simply put, we're doing a lot of the things that a lot of MarTech provides in terms of being able to send push notifications and app-related content or SMS messages, but doing so in a manner that really focuses on mobile. That's the area that we really excel at. And then two, helping them deliver these outcomes in a more automated way through the fan journey itself. If you think about the fan journey, there's a lot of unique steps that lead up to a lot of these high value outcomes. And so we think about leading up to the game, know before you go. We think about various ticketing products and how we might be able to accelerate the upsell in an automated way. So if you bought 5 tickets last year, maybe you're due for a 10-game pack this year. Identifying those opportunities in the product through the integrations with the ticketing platforms that we have stitched together in a nice way, and then to run through the various campaigns on a journey basis to make them scalable.
Sure. And do you find then with the product in terms of the clubs that you work with, what's like the sweet spot that you're finding so far? Is it certain size of clubs or certain types of following where they have consistent attendees, or is there a kind of a sweet spot where you're seeing that it's getting most resonance with the product?
Yeah, I think certainly for us, our core market is very much in the professional North American sport team space. So work with the majority of the NFL clubs, NBA, NHL, MLS, et cetera. And they have, I think, this business sophistication where they're really starting to think about lifetime value, some of the things that are table stakes in maybe e-com, but are newer to sport just by virtue of kind of the evolution of the industry. And so we're really focused on the teams that are, I would say are equipped for success, which means they've moved beyond some of the initial step 1 and step 2 approaches to a marketing strategy for a sports team. And they're now starting to think about that lifetime value extraction, that ongoing relationship with the fan in a way that is highly automated and scalable. Now, I would say what we're seeing is markets that maybe industries or leagues that may have been perceived as tier 2 or secondary are starting to get there as well. So as we expand into college and other markets, that's where you're seeing some additional clients for Rover.
It's a really interesting space to be in.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do is make the workflow to execution a lot more simple. So historically, you've got an ESP, maybe an SMS provider, you've got fragmented sort of channel tooling, and then you've got fragmented sources of data. Some of that data is coming from maybe a data warehouse or a CRM or a CDP. But then you have real-time sources of data as well. So when you think about it, if I'm an NFL club, I might have highly relevant data coming from my ticketing provider, from the league, like the NFL APIs, for example. I might have a CRM, a data warehouse. I might be delivering cross-channel messaging. And so by the end of it, to think through that fan journey and the ability to execute on it, you're going to have a lot of different products. And so where we're hitting on the value proposition there is to say, we're integrated with the league, we're integrated with the ticketing provider, we're helping to deliver cross-channel communication and tying into the sort of the data warehouse. So everything exists in one place. And the story I often tell is, in most cases to execute these things, the workflow is marketing may have an idea. They go to BI to run a query to see what fans might meet that criteria. Some form of a list is pulled. It's then uploaded into various products for execution. And it's quite clunky and quite time consuming. It reduces the amount of ideas that can be executed on. And secondly, once those sort of lists are pulled, they become stale. In the fast moving world of sports, tickets are transferred and sold all the time. And so the time from which you pull that list of fans that might meet a criteria of going to the game on Sunday, that may be out of date an hour later or even less. And so with our real-time integration on the ticketing side, we know right away if somebody's transferred a ticket and can have that fan journey adapt in real time for the club.
What's been like 60 clubs is a lot, especially if they're large clubs as well. What was the biggest challenge in getting to 60 clubs, like from say 1 to 10, 10 to 20 and so on? Were there different challenges all the way, or what was the early things that you found like the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think this kind of response can apply to any business. As a founder building something from zero, you really obviously have to get those first key temple clients, because that validation that their other colleagues, counterparts are working with you, it goes a long way. And that's phase in step one, which is really, I would say, over investing in those relationships, both from the sales and the conversation, understanding their business, what they need, and then service and support, and making sure that you're actively engaging and listening so that you can really nail it with those first customers and get that validation. I think from there, you very quickly get into needing to really go deep on the ROI and the impact. And so with that initial few clients, you then, once they're stood up and using the product and finding value, you need to extract those stories of impact. I think today more than ever, when it comes to growing your business and selling any sort of product in this space, you really have to be quite forward as it relates to why this matters, what it's going to do for you, and how it differs from what you might be doing today. So really nailing in that value proposition, of course, continues to be super, super impactful.
And when you're looking now, like if you're to look like, say, let's 2-3 years out, what are you thinking in terms of expansion for the business? Are there any particular clubs that you're like, we could really add a lot of value, we want to get them on board? Anything you can share with us?
I would say growth comes from three ways. One, it comes from those sort of secondary teams, tier two kind of sporting clubs that maybe weren't ready, so to speak, for what we offer. They hadn't got to the stage of sophistication where they're thinking about this lifetime value aspect to their business. And so you have a lot of leagues that are emergent and or historically been doing things in maybe a more traditional way, catching up, so to speak, to the leaders in the industry. Really thinking about the tooling and how they can deliver on some of these use cases and these opportunities that other tier one or major leagues have actually realized. So that there's that piece. I think also you think about growth in terms of going wider within clients. What we hear all the time is, we're continually allowing teams to do a lot more from one place. Having data integrated, being able to communicate cross-channel has such a benefit for team workflow. So as we continue to offer more product within this category, we're really addressing this problem at a bigger scale and really offering more to clubs. And I think that's another big area where we can see some growth. I'm excited about college as a growth market. I'm excited about live events as well. While we do work in sport primarily, we do a number of events. So major tentpole concerts, the festivals, this kind of thing. Obviously, really great opportunities to, again, help that fan experience be better and have the corresponding benefits of upsells, renewals, repurchase, et cetera.
Definitely. Do you find with festivals and events, is the business model a similar structure because it's like a one-off thing? Or
Yeah.
is it slightly different how you tailor the product for those type of clients?
Yeah. So in our market, again, another nuance to the world of sport is it's fast paced. You look at the amount of games that teams have, there's not a lot of planning time. It's not like in retail where how a team performs is an externality to the marketing team. They don't really have control, right? So you've got a lot of fast moving pieces that I think make the nature of the business a bit of a challenge there. And so we're really thinking about in this fast moving world, how can we help you deliver value week in, week out? And when it comes to festivals and events, it's a similar reality. We've got a narrow window to really capitalize on things. And if it's a weekend long festival, there's lead up time, but not a ton. And so we need to be able to really look at these moments that are in season or lead up to festival as the brunt or the focus of what we're going to do. And further to that, recognize that we have to adapt to change. Ticket sales can be up, they can be down for a lot of reasons that are out of control of that event. And so needing to be able to adapt pretty quickly is really important. And so the nature of our product and our focus is that real-time changing reality of the world and being able to adapt and execute.
Oh no, for sure. I imagine the agility is key, really, to be able to react in such a fast way. One other question about sports clubs: do you see if that you probably see a lot of data with the 60 clubs that you're with? Do you see any leverage that smaller clubs have on larger clubs? And what I mean by this is, in Europe, for example, we have some clubs that are maybe not very, let's say, not necessarily competitive, like at always winning trophies, but they have a very loyal fan base. I'll give you some examples. St. Jordi or St. Pauli, I think they're called, in Hamburg. Another club, Celtic. Another club, Boca Juniors in Argentina. They don't always win the leagues, but they just have this history to the club, and they have a massive fan base as a result of that. And it might not be everyone's number one club, but there's always an affiliate of club. From the data that you see with the 60 clubs that you look at, do you see anything that they have a unique position in terms of the brand equity that they have, that probably bigger clubs that have much more resources, that they don't really tap into that as much because they just have much more resources as a result, but that they maybe miss out on something that like organically grown fan base has, that of these smaller clubs?
Yes. Yeah. Like planting a tree, you have to let a relationship and a history grow over time. And it's very difficult to accelerate time. And in terms of some of the 1800 founding clubs, right? Like you've got
Exactly.
difficult to emulate that or force the acceleration of it. But I do think one that North American sports, large or small, can benefit or learn from a lot of what, goes on in terms of the European club mentality is really the concept of membership. I think historically North American season ticket membership has been a bit transactional. And with the exception of maybe the Green Bay Packers, fans aren't really members of a club. They're not really owners of a club. They are a transactional purchaser. And I'm simplifying, but that is something that you see. And obviously, when you look to Europe, there's, I think, a more ingrained sense of ownership and membership and history. And while history takes time, I think there's a lot around membership that we could really learn from when it comes to the European model. And that's really about feeling like a participant, feeling part of the journey, feeling connected with the club, not feeling like a number, feeling like a member. And in many respects, that's what we really seek to do, is to connect the club voice and brand narrative and experience with the fan in a closer knit way. And obviously you need certain tooling to do that at scale. And so we're really focused on bringing that concierge, one-to-one membership kind of exclusivity or connection to North American clubs so they can leverage some of the successes that you're speaking to as far as what goes on.
Yeah, it's such an exciting space to be in. What are your predictions for the future in terms of, if you look at clubs and sports clubs in terms of the commercial models? Okay, you have sponsorship, you have live events in the stadiums, you have ticketing, season ticketing and stuff. From what do you see any other, apart from those mentioned, any other evolution of business models coming through now with sports clubs as they continue to have to look to like other, maybe some of the clubs that would probably, depending on the club, of course, but like some of them that are looking at other business lines. Do you see any trends that are going to become viable in the next years?
Yeah. Obviously, with the advancement of technology in the world, things change fast. We all know that. And I think there's some pros and cons to it. I think that the pro or the benefit to sport is I think there will always be this hunger and human nature appetite for kind of the analog, the physical world experience in a world of AI and content that might be generated by technology. There is, I think, a persistent underlying hunger to see physical on-field type action. And I think teams can really leverage that uniqueness and benefit from it. I do think, though, where there's a need for evolution is the fact that the way in which the sport is consumed and or purchased essentially needs to adapt as well. And so the sort of historical buy a ticket, sit in a seat for 3 hours, watch a game and leave, I think is evolving a lot. And the concept of membership, I think, is evolving. The concept of the single game ticket and what you buy is evolving. And specifically where I think there's room for growth is to really think, and you're seeing this in the redesign of stadiums, is the different ways in which we can create packages and ticket offerings for fans to consume the sport in a different way. It's obviously increasingly more social, so more club space, more, intermingling of fans, more of a social experience, less of a sit by yourself in a seat. And so teams need to be creative about how they package up their ticketing product, how they sell, and obviously need the sort of tooling to execute on that, because you may go from having 10,000 lower bowl single game seats to splicing that up into different forms of consumption. And therefore you need to segment the communication and the marketing of those ticketing products based on the various preferences, types of fans that you're trying to appeal to, which has become increasingly more diverse.
No, it makes a lot of sense. For people that want to find out more about Rover, John, and see the clubs you're working with, any clubs that you're bringing on, find more about like how to tap into the community if they're a supporter of that club, where are you most active and where can they find out more about Rover?
Yeah, so we're pretty active. Certainly the website, rover.io, that's our website. We've also are pretty active because we are a B2B business. LinkedIn tends to be a place where we talk about our case studies and our customer stories a lot. So I would encourage LinkedIn to be a place to do. And then, of course, quite active in the industry and industry events. There are some great ones that speak to the business of sport, and we are pretty active in attending and participating on panels, et cetera, in the space.
Great. John, it was a pleasure talking with you. It's a really exciting space you're in. Now, I'm looking forward to hearing more about Rover and seeing the clubs that you're currently working with, but in the future as well. Hopefully, we'll start seeing you with some European clubs as well, then some of the soccer ones here in Spain. Real Madrid is a good one, I think, as a future Rover potential customer.
That's right. I love it. I appreciate your time, Marcus. Great chatting with you.
Thanks very much. It was great chatting with you, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Perfect. Take care.